लोकान् व्याप्य भूतात्मा भुङ्क्ते विश्वभुगव्ययः इमं स्तवं भगवतो विष्णोर्व्यासेन कीर्तितं पठेते चेत् पुरुषश्रेयः प्राप्तुं सुखानि च विश्वेश्वरमजं देवं जगतः प्रभुमव्ययं भजन्ति ये पुष्कराक्षं न ते यान्ति पराभवम् न ते यान्ति पराभवम् ॐ नमः इति अर्जुन उवाच पद्मपत्रविशालाक्ष पद्मनाभसुरोत्तमः भक्तानामनुरक्तानां त्राता भव जनार्दन श्रीभगवानुवाच यो मां नाम सहस्रेण स्तोतुमिच्छति पाण्डव सोऽहमेकेन श्लोकेन स्तुत एव न संशयः स्तुत एव न संशयो नमः इति श्रीसुवाच वासनात् वासुदेवस्य वासितं भुवनत्रयं सर्वभूतनिवासोऽसि वासुदेव नमोऽस्तुते श्रीवासुदेव नमोऽस्तु ते ॐ नमः इति पार्वती उवाच केनोपायेन रघुना विष्णोर्नाम सहस्रकं पठ्यते पण्डितैः नित्यं स्तोतुमिच्छाम्यहं प्रभो श्रीश्वर उवाच श्रीराम राम
Jai Sri Krishna to everyone. While I request everyone to kindly settle down before we begin the next program for the evening, I would first like to thank, on behalf of the Kshetrapasana trustees and all the devotees, the VISVAS group who had just performed the Vishnu Sahasranamam for us. We can't appreciate enough the yeoman's service and the effort they are taking to spread the Maha Mantra to every corner of the world. Please give them a round of applause. While we thank them for setting the vibrations and the tone for today's evening's program, we also have the next program, which is a set of bhajans, some of them the favorites of Pujya Premaji. For those of you who might not know, these are the musicians who used to accompany her everywhere she traveled. They have been with her for... We are indeed fortunate that they could make it possible to come here and begin the program to jog our memories of those glorious days that we shared with Pujya Premaji amongst us. So I would like to introduce the musicians to you. We have Shyamji on the tabla, we have Hemantji on the vocals, and Prakashji on the keyboards. I leave the stage for them to begin. Thank you.
हेलो 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 आज जन्मदिन के अवसर पर अम्मा के द्वारा लिखित जो भजन है, उसी भजन का ये छोटा सा प्रोग्राम आपके सामने प्रस्तुत करते हैं। अम्मा का सबसे प्यारा भजन, मेरे तो बिहारी भैया। मेरे तो बिहारी भैया दूसरो न कोई, वही मेरे साथ रहा हंसी मेरे साथ रहा, हंसिया में रोई, मैं हंसिया में रोई। उसके ही गुण में रात दिन गाऊं, देश में घूमूं या विदेश में जाऊं, देश में घूमूं या विदेश में जाऊं। कोई कहे मिस्री संग स्वादु माखन इसने खिलाया, मुरली बजाए। मुरली बजाए रास रचाए, उखल से बंधा वही, मुरली बजाए रास रचाए, उखल से बंधा वही। वही मेरे सोई, मैं हंसिया में रोई, मेरे तो बिहारी भैया दूसरों न कोई। वही मेरे साथ रहा, हंसिया में रोई, मैं हंसिया में रोई, मैं हंसिया में रोई, मैं हंसिया में रोई। जय जय श्री राधे, जय जय श्री राधे, जय जय श्री राधे। कृष्ण भक्ति पे अम्मा ने बहुत सारे भजन लिखे हैं। एक भजन है जिसमें अम्मा ने बिहारी जी की आंखों के बारे में उस भजन में बताया है। वो भजन प्रस्तुत है, बिहारी तेरी आंखें बनाए दीवाने। बिहारी तेरी आंखें बनाए दीवाने, बिहारी तेरी आंखें बनाए दीवाने। मेरा एक सहारा है राधिका है, राधिका रानी। बिहारी तेरी आंखें बनाए दीवाने, बिहारी तेरी आंखें बनाए दीवाने। रातों को निंदिया न दिन को है चैन, रातों को निंदिया न दिन को है चैन। किसको सुनाऊं मैं दिल की ये बैना, किसको सुनाऊं मैं दिल की ये बैना। दे जा प्रभु कभी हमें प्रेम की निशानी, दे जा प्रभु कभी हमें प्रेम की निशानी। बिहारी तेरी आंखें बनाए दीवाने, बिहारी तेरी आंखें बनाए दीवाने। उद्धव की जय हो, सुदामा की जय हो, उद्धव की जय हो, सुदामा की जय हो। सैकड़ों करोड़ों भक्तों की जय हो, सैकड़ों करोड़ों भक्तों की जय हो। सारी रात जागो सुन सुख की कहानी, सारी रात जागो सुन सुख की कहानी। बिहारी तेरी आंखें बनाए दीवाने, बिहारी तेरी आंखें बनाए दीवाने। मेरा एक सहारा है राधिका रानी, मेरा एक सहारा है राधिका रानी। बिहारी तेरी आंखें बना बनाए दीवाने, बिहारी तेरी आंखें बनाए दीवाने। नाम लाए मोती प्रभु, नाम लाए हीरा, कृष्ण प्रेम भर लाए मीठी सी बाने, कृष्ण प्रेम भर लाए मीठी सी बाने, बिहारी तेरी आंखें बनाए दीवाने, बिहारी तेरी आंखें बनाए दीवाने। मेरा एक सहारा है राधिका रानी, मेरा एक सहारा है राधिका रानी, बिहारी तेरी आंखें बनाए दीवाने, बिहारी तेरी आंखें बनाए दीवाने, बिहारी तेरी आंखें बनाए दीवाने। भगवान के पगड़ी के बारे में एक भजन में दीदी ने लिखा है, वो भजन प्रस्तुत है। जरी की पगड़ी बांधे सुंदर आँखों वाला, जरी की पगड़ी बांधे सुंदर आँखों वाला, कितनो सुंदर लागे बिहारी, कितनो लागे निराला, कितनो सुंदर लागे बिहारी, कितनो लागे निराला। कभी शमकीरे की बाली, कभी मोतियन की माला, कभी शमकीरे की बाली, कभी मोतियन की माला, कितनो सुंदर लागे बिहारी, कितनो लागे निराला, कितनो सुंदर लागे बिहारी, कितनो लागे निराला। जमुना के तट पे मुरली बजाए, जमुना के तट पे मुरली बजाए, दौड़त दौड़त गोपी आए, दौड़त दौड़त गोपी आए। गोरी गोरी मेरी राधा और कान्हा कितना काला, गोरी गोरी मेरी राधा और कान्हा कितना काला, कितनो सुंदर लागे बिहारी, कितनो लागे निराला, कितनो सुंदर लागे बिहारी, कितनो लागे निराला। जरी की पगड़ी बांधे सुंदर आँखों वाला, जरी की पगड़ी बांधे सुंदर आँखों वाला, कितनो सुंदर लागे बिहारी, कितनो लागे निराला, कितनो सुंदर लागे बिहारी, कितनो लागे निराला। चांदनी रात में गोपी संग नाचे, चांदनी रात में गोपी संग नाचे, ऋषि मुनि पूछे वैकुंठाया नीचे, ऋषि मुनि पूछे वैकुंठाया नीचे। कभी शमकीरे की बाली, कभी मोतियन की माला, कभी शमकीरे की बाली, कभी मोतियन की माला, कितनो सुंदर लागे बिहारी, कितनो लागे निराला, कितनो सुंदर लागे बिहारी, कितनो लागे निराला। जरी की पगड़ी बांधे सुंदर आँखों वाला, जरी की पगड़ी बांधे सुंदर आँखों वाला, कितनो सुंदर लागे बिहारी, कितनो लागे निराला, कितनो सुंदर लागे बिहारी, कितनो लागे। ये भजन अम्मा ने अपने ही जन्मदिन पर आश्रम में लिखा था। भजन के बोले, हर जन्म दिन तू मेरे साथ रहे, बिहारी तेरा हाथ मेरे हाथ में रहे। प्रस्तुत है। हर जन्म दिन तू मेरे साथ रहे, बिहारी तेरा हाथ मेरे हाथ में रहे। हर जन्म दिन तू मेरे साथ रहे, बिहारी तेरा हाथ मेरे हाथ में रहे। हर जन्म दिन तू मेरे साथ रहे, बिहारी तेरा हाथ मेरे हाथ में रहे। ये यमुना का पानी और साथ राधा रानी, ये यमुना का पानी और साथ राधा रानी। कृष्ण की मीठी मीठी बात रहे, बिहारी तेरा हाथ मेरे हाथ में रहे। ये शुक्र जी की मीठी मीठी बात रहे, बिहारी तेरा हाथ मेरे हाथ में रहे। हर जन्म दिन तू मेरे साथ रहे, बिहारी तेरा हाथ मेरे हाथ में रहे। फोटो पे तेरा नाम, मुझे दुनिया से क्या काम। फोटो पे तेरा नाम, मुझे दुनिया से क्या काम। ये कृपा की यूं ही बरसात रहे, बिहारी तेरा हाथ मेरे हाथ में रहे। ये कृपा की यूं ही बरसात रहे, बिहारी तेरा हाथ मेरे हाथ में रहे। हर जन्म दिन तू मेरे साथ रहे, बिहारी तेरा हाथ मेरे हाथ में रहे। कृष्ण प्रेम चांदी और कृष्ण प्रेम सोना, कृष्ण प्रेम चांदी और कृष्ण प्रेम सोना। कृष्ण प्रेम मोती और कृष्ण प्रेम हीरा, कृष्ण प्रेम मोती और कृष्ण प्रेम हीरा। ये दया की यूं ही बरसात रहे, बिहारी तेरा हाथ मेरे हाथ में रहे। ये दया की यूं ही बरसात रहे, बिहारी तेरा हाथ मेरे हाथ में रहे। हर जन्म दिन तू मेरे साथ रहे, बिहारी तेरा हाथ मेरे हाथ में रहे। ये शुक्र जी की मीठी मीठी बात रहे, बिहारी तेरा हाथ मेरे हाथ में रहे। हर जन्म दिन तू मेरे साथ रहे, बिहारी तेरा हाथ मेरे हाथ में रहे। बिहारी तेरा हाथ मेरे हाथ में रहे, बिहारी तेरा हाथ मेरे हाथ में रहे। जय जय श्री राधे। अम्मा की भजन माला में से बहुत ही प्रसिद्ध गीत है। गीत के बोल है, ये फूलों का बंगला, ये महक सुहानी। प्रस्तुत है। ये फूलों का बंगला, ये महक सुहानी, ये ब्रज की कहानी, मेरी जिंदगानी। ये फूलों का बंगला, ये महक सुहानी, ये ब्रज की कहानी, मेरी जिंदगानी। ये फूलों हमें याद करना, ये राधा सजे तो हमको बुलाना। बिहारी सजे तो हमें याद करना, ये राधा सजे तो हमको बुलाना। ये लाला दीवाना, ये लाली दीवानी, ये ब्रज मेरी जिंदगानी। ये लाला दीवाना, ये लाली दीवानी, ये ब्रज की कहानी, मेरी जिंदगानी। ये फूलों का बंगला, ये महक सुहानी, ये ब्रज की कहानी, मेरी जिंदगानी। ये फूलों का बंगला। ये कमलों की माला, कदम्बों की माला, ये जूही की माला पहला गे निराला। ये कमलों की माला, कदम्बों की माला, ये जूही की माला पहला गे निराला। ये अत्तर की सुगंध कितनी निराली, ये ब्रज की कहानी, मेरी जिंदगानी। ये अत्तर की सुगंध कितनी निराली, ये ब्रज की कहानी, मेरी जिंदगानी। ये फूलों का बंगला, ये महक सुहानी, ये ब्रज की कहानी, मेरी जिंदगानी। ये फूलों का बंगला। भी हमको भाए, राधा की चुनरी तो दिल को चुराए। ये मोर मुकुट भी हमको भाए, ये राधा की चुनरी तो दिल को चुराए। ये ब्रज की कहानी सुनो मेरी जुबानी, ये ब्रज की कहानी, मेरी जिंदगानी। ये ब्रज की कहानी सुनो मेरी जुबानी, ये ब्रज की कहानी, मेरी जिंदगानी। ये फूलों का बंगला, ये महक सुहानी, ये ब्रज की कहानी, मेरी जिंदगी। कृष्ण प्रेम है चांदी, कृष्ण प्रेम है सोना, कृष्ण प्रेम है मोती, कृष्ण प्रेम है हीरा, कृष्ण प्रेम है चांदी, कृष्ण प्रेम है सोना, कृष्ण प्रेम है मोती, कृष्ण प्रेम है हीरा। ये भक्तों का बंधन, ये मोली निराली, ये ब्रज की कहानी मेरी जिंदगानी। ये भक्तों का बंधन, ये मोली निराली, ये ब्रज की कहानी मेरी जिंदगानी। ये फूलों का बंगला, ये महक सुहानी, ये ब्रज की कहानी मेरी जिंदगानी। जय जय श्री राधे, जय जय श्री राधे, जय जय श्री राधे श्याम। और एक लास्ट भजन प्रस्तुत है जो तिरुपति में बना था, प्रस्तुत है। मेरा प्यार बूंद प्रभु जी, तेरा प्यार महासागर। मेरा प्यार बूंद प्रभु जी, तेरा प्यार महासागर। तेरी करुणा बहती गंगा, मैं हूँ अपूर्ण घाघर। तेरी करुणा बहती गंगा, मैं हूँ अपूर्ण घाघर। मेरा प्यार बूंद प्रभु जी, तेरा प्यार महासागर। मैं मांगू एक फूल, तो दे दे एक बगीचा। मैं मांगू एक फूल, तो दे दे एक बगीचा। और सारे नाते झूठे, एक तेरा नाता सच्चा। मेरा प्यार बूंद प्रभु जी, तेरा प्यार महासागर। मेरा प्यार बूंद प्रभु जी, तेरा प्यार महासागर। मैं मांगू एक मोती, तू दे दे एक खजाना। मैं मांगू एक मोती, तू दे दे एक खजाना। तेरी करुणा इतनी गहरी, इंसान कुछ न जाना। मेरा प्यार बूंद प्रभु जी, तेरा प्यार महासागर। मेरा प्यार बूंद प्रभु जी, तेरा प्यार महासागर। दासी कृष्ण प्रेम कृष्ण प्रेम के मैं दासी, कृष्ण प्रेम के मैं प्यासी, कृष्ण प्रेम से मिट जाए जीवन के हर उष्ण, प्रेम से मिट जाए जीवन के हर उदासी। मेरा प्यार बूंद प्रभु जी, मेरा प्यार महासागर, तेरी करुणा बहती गंगा, मैं हूँ अपूर्ण गागर, तेरी करुणा। थैंक यू। गंगा की सुन के पुकार, मैं आई हूँ शिव जी के द्वार। दक्षिण से मैं दौड़ती आई, रात दिन सुनाती आई, दक्षिण से मैं दौड़ती आई, रात दिन सुनाती आई। बम बम भोले श्री विश्वनाथ शंभो, श्री विश्वनाथ शंभो, श्री विश्वनाथ शंभो। शंभो श्री विश्वनाथ शंभो। अन्नपूर्णा सात भाई जो झोली भरती आई, अन्नपूर्णा सात भाई जो झोली भरती आई। अरे तेरी क्या कमाई सब शिव की देन भाई, अरे तेरी क्या कमाई सब जी को है दिखाया, काशी में मोक्ष पाया, उसे राम नाम सुनाया, काशी में मोक्ष पाया, उसे राम नाम सुनाया। शिव ने राम नाम सुनाया, शिव ने राम नाम सुनाया, शिव ने राम नाम सुनाया। बम बम भोले श्री विश्वनाथ शंभो, श्री विश्वनाथ शंभो, श्री विश्वनाथ शंभो। ओम नमः शिवाय, 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 नमः शिवाय, नमः शिवाय, नमः शिवाय। जय श्री कृष्ण।
I hope you all enjoyed that. It certainly brought back memories, not just memories, I think it brought back emotions too. Before I asked them to end the program, I requested them to sing one verse of the Govinda Damodara Stotram that we are all familiar with. We can end the music program with that. Please join in, everyone.
अग्रे गुरूणाम् अथ पाण्डवानां दृश्यासनेन हितवस्त्रकेश कृष्णात्तदाक्रोश धनन्यनाथ गोविन्द दामोदर माधवेति गोविन्द दामोदर माधवेति गोविन्द दामोदर माधवेति गोविन्द दामोदर माधवेति। कृष्ण विष्णु मधुकेटभारे भक्तानुकम्पिन् भगवन् मुरारे त्राय स्वमाकेशवलोकनाथ माधवेति गोविन्द दामोदर माधवेति गोविन्द दामोदर माधवेति गोविन्द दामोदर माधवेति गोविन्द।
Ladies and gentlemen, and a token of our gratitude for their services through the decades that they have been with Amma. And while we hope to make this an annual program and we wish they will be with us every year as we plan, I now request some of our trustees to kindly come onto stage to honor the musicians on behalf of Premaji and the trust. I request Giridharji to kindly come and honor Prashantji first, please. I request Hari Prasad ji to kindly come onto stage. Dinesh ji too, please, to kindly come onto stage. Hari Prasad ji to please come and honor Hemant ji. We are happy to have Sunil Gandhi ji all the way from Dubai for this function. We request him to honor Shyam ji. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to announce that we have the young boys from the Veda Pathashala at the ashram.
Ramadevaha Bhadram Vasya Bhakshabhiryajatraha Sirayangaistuštuvagum sastanobhihi Yashesravavosha Vishwavedaha Seyaya Hoyate Havihi Shraddham Pratarhavamahe Shraddham Madhyandinam Pare Shraddhagum Suryasya Nimruche Shraddhe Shraddhapayehama Shraddha Devanadhivaste Shraddha Vishwamidansya Mataram Avishavardhayamase Prataragdim Pratarindragum Havamahe Pratarmitturashchite Raja Jityam Bhagam Bhakshetya Bhaga Pranetar Bhaga Satyaratha Bhagemandhiyamuda Vadadannaha Bhaga Pranojana Jagobhirashvai Bhaga Pranabharnravandasyama Utedanim Bhagavandasyama Uta Pravitra Uta Madhye Anha उतोदितामघवन् सूर्यस्य वजं देवानागुं सुमतोऽस्याम भग एव भगवागुं वस्तु देवाः तेन वयं भगवन्तस्याम तन्वा भग सर्व इज्जो हवेमि स न भगपुरजेता भवेह समध्वरायोषसो नमन्ता दधिक्रावेव शुचये मदाय अर्वाचीनं वसुविदं भगन्नः रथमिवाश्वावाजिन आवहन्तो अश्वावतीर्गोमतीर्न उषासः वीरवतीः सदमुच्छन्तु भद्राः घृतं दुहाना विश्वतः प्रपीनाः यूयं पात स्वस्तिभिः सदानः मेधा देवी जुषमाणा न आगाद्विश्वाजी भद्रा सुमनस्यमाना त्वया जुष्टानुदमाना नुरुक्तां बृहत्पदेम विदधे सुवीराः त्वया जुष्टऋषिर्भवति देवि त्वया ब्रह्मा गतश्चेदुत्वया त्वया जुष्टश्चित्रं विन्दते वसुदानो जुषस्वद्रविणो न मेधे मेधां म इन्द्रो ददातु मेधां देवी सरस्वती मेधां मे अश्विना उभावा दत्तां पुष्करस्रजा अप्सराशु जया मेधा गन्धर्वेषु जयन्मनः दैवीं मेधा सरस्वती सा मां मेधा सुरभिर्जुषता स्वाहा आमां मेधा सुरभिर्विश्वरूपा हिरण्यवर्णा जगति जगम्या ऊर्जस्वते पयसा पिन्वमाना सा मां मेधा सुप्रतीका दुषन्ताम् मयि मेधां मयि प्रजां मयि यज्ञस्तेजो दधातु मयि मेधां मयि प्रजां मयीन्द्र इन्द्रियं दधातु धां मयि प्रजां मयि सूर्यो भ्राजो दधातु पृथिवी शान्ता साग्निना शिक्षगुं शान्तं तद्वायुना शान्तं तन्मे शान्तगुं शुचगुं शमयतो द्यौः शान्ता सादित्येन शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः
Ladies and gentlemen, what you witnessed today is the result of one of the efforts of Premaji. These are the students at the Veda Patishala at the ashram. They are residents with their Guruji there, and this is an ongoing activity. Ladies and gentlemen, while the arrangements are going on, I have the great pleasure to tell you that we have amongst us, as our guest of honor for today, His Honor Judge Shri G.R. Swaminathan Ji, who is the sitting judge of the Madras High Court. A very short introduction. He has been a member of the High Court from 2017 made a permanent judge in 2019. He has rendered quite a few landmark decisions upholding free speech and fundamental rights of prisoners. While I request him to kindly come onto stage. I also request Sunil Gandhi ji to kindly honor our guest of honor for today. introduction, I would like to mention that a young personality who took to the studies of the scriptures and Sanskrit at a very young age, introduced by his father, went on to finish his chemical engineering from the Pitspilani Institute. Further, shunned a career in the corporate world and took up to spreading the message of the scriptures to everywhere in India. We are honored to have him with us, and I request Sri Hari Prasad ji to kindly come and honor our guest today. Before I hand over the mic to Sri Hari Prasad ji to welcome the audience officially, I have to say that one of the reasons for us to invite Sri Dushyant Sridhar ji to today's program is we first of all wanted to have this as an annual program, probably start with Chennai and then take it to the other cities of India. And one of the activities that we wanted to pursue was the pursuit of spreading the message and the essence of the scriptures that we have, like Amma used to do. And in that lineage that we had, this is one of the first endeavors. And towards that effort, today we have Sri Dushyant ji with us. He will address us a little later. Before that, I request Hari Prasad ji, who is one of the trustees of the Kshetrupasana Trust, to welcome the audience.
A very good evening to all of you who have assembled here. Chief guest of the day, Honorable Justice Sri Swaminathan sir, Mr. Dushyant Sridhar, who has come here to enlighten us on the Mahatvam of Vishnu Sahasranamam, a long associate of Kshetrupasana Trust, Shri Murli ji also is here. On behalf of the trustees of Kshetrupasana Trust, I take this as a great privilege to welcome all of you for today's function when we are celebrating the 77th birthday of Puja Shri Prema Pandurang. In fact, this is the first time I am coming to Naradagan Sabha after hearing Ammaji's speech here in 2019. All of you know that on 1st June 2021, Premaji attained the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna. Premaji, who was hale and healthy, had to be hospitalized on 13th May 2021. In fact, on 9th of May, we had a virtual trustees meet, and we could trace that she was not all that well. So we told her, Amma, we will meet later. When you are not well, why should we have this meeting? No, no, sir, we will have the meeting. And we did have the meeting on 9th of May 2021. Fortunately, on that day, all the trustees were present, and we had a very useful discussions. And we never knew that that would be the last trustees board meeting chaired by Amma. On 13th of May, as I said earlier, we had to move her to Ramchandra Medical Hospital. And next 3 weeks, all of us went through the pain and agony and anxiety when Premaji was struggling for life. We knew, we were very confident that she will come back and continue her services, but Lord Krishna had something else to in his this thing, so he wanted Premaji back at his feet. Premaji, during her lifetime, dedicated herself to the cause of spreading the essence and teachings of our epics, including Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam was her favorite subject, and any number of opportunities she gets to do a 7-day Saptaham of Bhagavatam, she will never get tired. We used to tell Mama, you are straining yourself, but she says, when I do Bhagavatam, my batteries are recharged. That was her commitment to spread the message of Bhagavatam and epics of Indian culture. So towards spreading this message, obviously she had to travel extensively in India and abroad. And she did this not 1 year, 1 decade, but she did for more than 4 decades. Anyone who have listened to her will totally agree with me. When we hear Premaji's discourse talking, she is totally a different person on Vedapita and 10th standard. With the support of our trustee, Sri Sunil Gandhi, his family and friends, she established an old age home, Ananda Nilayam, where we have a capacity to accommodate about 75 senior citizens. She also established another old age home by name Sharanagati, which can accommodate about 40 senior citizens. Premaji, being a very spiritually oriented person, built 6 temples at Gokuldham Ashram, which includes a temple for the goddess Rajarajeshwari with a unique architecture in the shape of Mahameru. The building itself is in the shape of a Mahameru. Few years back, almost a decade, she also built a very beautiful temple for Guruvayurappan, her favorite Ishtadevata, at Gokuldham Ashram. The temple has been built exactly similar to the famous shrine at Guruvayur in Kerala. With the guidance and support of Sri Krishna Kumarji, Ammaji also established an Ayurveda hospital at the ashram. Premaji was a strong devotee of Tirupati, and we do not know for how many years, but then every month she has to go and have a darshan. Wherever she is traveling in the world, she will come back just to have darshan of Tirupati Balaji. And so naturally she had the desire to build a guest house in the name of Shripad Dham at Tirumala. Any of you have seen the place. It's a very pristine location in the entire hill of Tirumala. And we have about 26 well-furnished air-conditioned rooms. The maintenance of the guest house is being maintained by Kshetropasana Trust. And of course, all the income which being generated from renting these rooms will go to TTD Devasthanam. Premaji started Annakshetra to serve nutritious food for about 750 people in 16 nearby villages in and around the ashram. As I said earlier, addressing hunger was very close to her heart. Therefore, she took a massive step towards enhancing the number of 750 beneficiaries to 5,000 beneficiaries per day. Keeping this in mind, with many hurdles, including the trustees coming in the way, saying that, Amma, this is a huge project, can we handle this? She said, Krishna Paramatma Patakwa sir, we will go ahead with the project. And she built an extremely modern kitchen, fully equipped, with the help of ISKCON, guidance from ISKCON. And the building is almost complete, but because of the COVID, the food distribution itself stopped because the revenue authorities said no more food to be distributed. So now, if Ammaji was there, she would have started this Annakshetra and gone ahead serving more number of beneficiaries. But unfortunately, COVID and Amma herself passing away, there is a little slackness on that. But we, the trustees, would like to certainly fulfill this vision of Amma, and as soon as possible, we will try to start off this Annakshetra and serve more needy people. Of course, saying this is easy, but without Amma, it is going to be a great challenge for all of us to do this massive project. As I said, in 1987, by Prema Ji, she is our founder, managing director, managing trustee. From that time till the day Prema Ji attained the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, many individuals, corporates, institutions have contributed towards this mission of building a full-fledged ashram at Sri Perambattur, which is also a birthplace of Sri Ramanujar. And on this occasion, on behalf of all the trustees, I would like to thank with folded hands all the people who have made this possible in during the life of Prema Ji. I would also like to mention that the influence, the effect of Prema Ji's discourses brought in who is who of India and abroad as her devotees, as her well-wishers. All of them have been influenced, have been an influence on the building of the ashram. I would like to just say a few names. I may not be able to cover all the dignitaries who have been along with Amma's journey. Shri T.N. Seshan, our ex-Chief Election Commissioner of India, in fact, after he stepped down from the post, he came and stayed with Amma for 3 months in the ashram. And for the post he had held, the ashram certainly could not have matched. But then he said, Ammaji is here, the vibrations is more important. So he came and stayed in the ashram for almost 3 months. As I mentioned, Vinod Neotia, ex-chairman of Gujarat Ambuja Cements, was an ardent devotee of Amma. Sri Rangarajan, ex-governor of Reserve Bank of India and ex-governor of Andhra Pradesh government. Dr. Pratap Reddy, chairman emeritus of Apollo Hospitals. Dr. Badri Narayan, chairman of Shankar Nethralaya. Rajashri Birla and the entire family. Mrs. Asha Goenka and their family. All these people have been associated with Amma at various points of time. And because of their contributions, because of their support, Amma was able to build single-handedly all the activities which goes on in the ashram, which I was mentioning about to you. Now coming back to the present stage, we are about 8 trustees appointed by Prema Ji during her lifetime. Our trust board is headed by Sri Mohan Parasaran, ex-Advocate General of India. Now, when Ammaji passed away, certainly it was a rude shock to all of us, exclusively to the trustees. Because, you know, to be very honest, when Prema Ji was there, we were all nimitta matram. She used to invite us, feed us nicely like a mother feeding us, and conduct the meetings, take a few suggestions from us, no doubt. But then the entire responsibility was on her shoulders of running the ashram. And today, after 1 year, we are taking care of the ashram. So we know the responsibility she carried, how she was able to do this on a day-to-day basis, whether she's in India, whether she's in Chennai, whether she's traveling abroad. She used to manage the ashram activities in such a way. So we have now taken a vow. We look this as an opportunity to continue the service initiated by Ammaji. We want to make sure that her vision, the service activities started by Premaji, is continued, and to the extent possible, we want to develop it further to reach more needy in the society. We are confident that with the blessings of Almighty, grace of Premaji from the heaven, and support and encouragement of her well-wishers and devotees, we, the trustees, will be able to take forward this as a mission to reach the vision of Ammaji. In the very near future, we'll be installing a life-size marble statue of Puja Shri Prema Pandurang at the ashram campus. We'll also be creating a museum at the ashram to showcase her works. She has, which is very difficult to count, so much of writings, manuscript, books are there in the ashram. Her puja room, which is itself a divine, which gives a divine experience. Photos of her life journey, various mementos given to her by her well-wishers, devotees, and organizers. All this will be displayed. With all this, we feel to some extent we can bring back the vibrations into the ashram, which we have been missing for the last 1 year. Today being 77th birthday of Puja Premaji, this function was organized to bring together her well-wishers and devotees. We propose to continue the Jayanti celebrations every year on 12th June at various centers in India. So once again, on behalf of all the trustees, the well-wishers and devotees of Amma, I thank each and every one of you participating in this meaningful function. Jai Shri Krishna.
Thank you, sir, for throwing light on the activities of the ashram. In the interest of time, I would request our guest of honor to kindly address the audience, please.
அனைவருக்கும் என்னுடைய மாலை வணக்கங்கள். தமிழ் ஒரு பாட்டு இருக்கு, ஒரு கிளி ஒன்று இருக்குமா, அது வந்து இட் வில் என்ன கேட்டாலும் புதார் விடுமா, ஒரு இட் வில் ஆல் பிளஸ்டர். ஆனால் திடீர்னு பூனை என்ட்ரான உடனே கிளி வந்து எப்போது மேலே கீச்சுன்னு கத்த ஆரம்பிச்சிடுமா உடனே. ஐம் எ ஜட்ஜ், கோர்ட்டில் எல்லாம் வாசம் தான். பட் பிஃபார் எ ஸ்டார் ஆரேட்டர் லைக் துஷ்யந்த் ஸ்ரீதர்ஜி, நான் வந்து இந்த கிளியோட நிலைமையில தான் நான் இருக்கேன் இப்போதைக்கு. பட் துஷ்யந்த்ஜி வந்து இஸ் நாட் எ பூனை, இஸ் அ ஸ்பிரிச்சுவல் டைகர், அப்படி தான் நான் நினைக்கிறேன் அவரை. நான் சார் உங்களோட இந்த இதில் இருக்கிறது ஐ ஃபீல் ரியலி ஆனர்ட் அண்ட் ப்ரவுட். பேசுறதுக்கு ரொம்ப இல்லை, இருந்தால் கூட சம்பிரதாயத்துக்காக சில வார்த்தைகள் சொல்லி ஆகணும், அதுக்காக பேசுகிறேன். இப்போ நான் ஹைகோர்ட்டுக்கு மதுரையில் ஒரு பெஞ்ச் இருக்குது, ஐ ஆம் ஸ்டேஷன்டு தேர். எனக்கு ரொம்ப பிடிச்ச ஒரு காந்தியவாதி ஜேசி குமரப்பா தான். அதனால அங்கே இருக்க காந்தி மியூசியத்தில் எந்த நிகழ்ச்சிக்கு என்னை கூப்பிட்டா கூட ஐ யூஸ் டு கோ அண்ட் அட்டெண்ட். லாஸ்ட் 5 years அதுக்கு முன்னாடி ஐ யூஸ் டு அட்டெண்ட். ஆனால் பார்ப்பேன் எவ்ரி டைம் அங்கே இருக்கிற ஆவரேஜ் ஏஜ் வந்து எல்லாருமே 65-70 அப்படி தான் இருப்பாங்க. அஃப்கோர்ஸ் ஐ ஹவ் கிரேட் ரெஸ்பெக்ட் ஃபார் ஏஜ் அண்ட் எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ். இருந்தால் கூட ஒரு கவலை வரும், யாரும் மிடில் ஏஜ் கூட இருக்க மாட்டாங்க. ஆனால் இன்றைக்கி இங்கே வந்து பார்த்தபோது நான் ஒரு 5 o'clock வந்துட்டேன். இது சகஸ்ரநாமம் இது நடந்தது. நிறைய குழந்தைகள் வந்து தேவர் ஆன் த ஸ்டேஜ். அதுக்கு முன்னாடி பாடசாலை வந்து நிறைய குழந்தைகள் இருந்தாங்க. இதை பார்த்தோன்னே அவர் தர்மா இஸ் சேஃப்ங்கிற ஒரு நம்பிக்கை எனக்கு மனசில் ஏற்பட்டது. இது ரெண்டாவது சொல்லணும்னு நினச்சேன். மூணாவது, இது முழுக்க முழுக்க விளையாட்டாக தான், அது யாரும் சீரியஸாக எடுத்துக்க வேண்டாம். விருதுநகரில் ஆஞ்சநேயா மெஸ்ஸுன்னு ஒன்று இருக்குது. ரொம்ப வருஷம் முன்னாடி ஒரு 2008 9 நான் சாப்பிட போயிருந்தேன். எதாச்சும் சாப்பிட்டு முடித்த உடனே என்னை சர்வ் பண்ணவருக்கு வந்து நான் டிப்ஸ் எப்போதும் கொடுத்தேன். அவர் வாங்க மாட்டேன்ட்டார். இல்லை சார் வாங்கிக்கோ சார், நான் சாப்பிட்டேன்னா ஹோட்டலில் சர்வ் பண்ணுறவங்களுக்கு கருதி என் வழக்கம், வாங்கிக்கோ அப்படின்னேன். சார் நான் தான் சார் மெஸ்ஸோட ஹோட்டல் ஓனர் சார் அப்படின்னாரு. எனக்கு அந்த டேபிள் கீழே ஒழிஞ்சிடலாமான்லாம் தோணி போச்சு. எனக்கு அவ்வளோ கூச்சமாக படுத்து அசிங்கமாக ஃபீல் பண்ண அந்த நேரத்தில். அவர் எப்படி பாவமாக பார்த்தேன் அவரை நான். அவர்களே அவசரம், இல்லை சார் நீங்கள் வந்த பார்த்தோன்னே நீங்கள் கொஞ்சம் ஒரு பெரிய மனுஷனாக இருப்பேன்னு எனக்கு மனசுக்கு பட்டுது, அதனால சர்வர் நானே உங்களை சர்வ் பண்ணணும்னு நினச்சேன் அப்படின்னாரு உடனே. ஸோ அந்த ஞாபகத்தில் இன்ஃபேக்ட் முந்தானத்து மறுபடியும் அங்கே போனேன். ஆனால் அவர் இல்லை, அவர் ரிட்டையர்டு போல இருக்கவர். எதுக்கு இதை சொல்கிறேன்னா, நீங்கள் எல்லாருமே நல்லவா, சத் சங்கம், சந்தேகமே கிடையாது. ஸோ உங்களுக்கெல்லாம் கோர்ட்டு பக்கம் வரப்படாது. நீங்கள்லாம் உங்கள் எல்லாருக்கும் நான் வாழ்த்தா சொல்கிறேன், கோர்ட்டு பக்கம் வராதிங்க. தட் இஸ் நாட் எ பிளேஸ் ஃபார் குட் பீப்புள். ஸோ அதனால் என்னாச்சுன்னா உங்கள் யாருக்கும், ஸோ என்ன நான் வந்து ராவ்ஜி என்ன சொன்னாங்கன்னா 6 மணிக்கு வந்துடுங்க அப்படின்னு சொன்னாங்க. நான் இன்னைக்கு இன்விடேஷன் மத்தியானம் தான் பார்த்தேன். 5 மணிக்கு சகசிராமம் போட்டு 4:55 நான் வந்து உட்காந்துட்டேங்க. ஸோ ரமேஷ்ஜி வந்து நேராக வந்து ஜட்ஜு வராரு, நீங்களாம் பின்னாடி உட்காந்துங்க அப்படின்னாரு. எனக்கு நான் தான் ஜட்ஜு சொல்லிக்க எனக்கு கூச்சமாக இருந்தது. எனக்கு நான் பாட்டுக்கு பேசாமல் இருந்துட்டேன். எதுக்கு? ஆனால் உங்களுக்குலாம் எனக்கு தெரியாது. பட் ஒரு செக்ஷன் ஆஃப் சொசைட்டிக்கு தே நோ மீ வெரி வெல். ரொம்ப இயல்பாக சொல்கிறேன், வருத்தமாலாம் சொல்லலை. ஐ ஆம் த மோஸ்ட் விஷஸ்லி ட்ரால்டு ஜட்ஜ். இப்படி தானே கிடையாது, அந்த மாதிரி என்னை அப்யூஸ் பண்ணாங்க, மீம்ஸ் போட்டுட்டே இருப்பாங்க என்னை பற்றி. அது ஃப்ரீடம் ஆஃப் ஸ்பீச், நான் அதை ஒன்றும் ரொம்ப பெருசாக எடுத்துக்கல. அடிக்கடி வந்து என்னை ஒரு நேற்று ஒரு குளத்தூர் மணி ஒரு யூடியூப்பில் பேசினார். எங்கள் அம்மா தான் பார்த்துட்டு சொன்ன, நான் பார்க்கல. யார் அவன்? தாடி வச்சுருக்கான், விபூதி வச்சுருக்கான், பெரிய பொட்டு வச்சுருக்கான், இவன் நீதிபதியா பூசாரியா அப்படின்னு கேட்டாராம் அவர். ஸோ வந்து இன்னைக்கு சஹஸ்ரநாமம் கேட்டபோது வனமாலி கதி சாரங்கி சங்கின்னு ஒரு வார்த்தை வந்தது அதில். ஸோ என்னை சங்கின்னு தான் சொல்லி அப்யூஸ் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்காங்க. ஸோ துஷ்யந்த்ஜியை வந்து சங்கினா என்னன்னு கொஞ்சம் விளக்கம், அஃப்கோர்ஸ் 2வது காணாங்கிறது எனக்கு தெரியும், இருந்தாலும் விளக்கம் சொல்லணும்னு கேட்டுக்கொள்கிறேன். இந்த நிகழ்ச்சியில் நான் வந்து ரொம்ப சந்தோஷமாக இருக்கு. ஏன்னா ஜெயபிரகாஷ் நாராயண் நம்ம எல்லாருமே கேள்விப்பட்டிருவோம், ஒன் ஆஃப் த கிரேட்டஸ்ட் பொலிட்டிக்கல் லீடர்ஸ். அவரோட ஆரம்பம் எப்படி இருந்ததுன்னா, ஆஸ் அ ஹார்ட் கோர் மார்க்சிஸ்ட். அமெரிக்காவில் தான் இருந்தார் அவர். ஆனால் அமெரிக்காவில் இருந்தார், கம்யூனிஸ்டமாக இருந்தாலும் கூட கடைசியில் நம்ம தர்ம பக்கம் அப்படியே மாறி வந்துட்டார். ஏன் வந்தார் அப்படின்னா, நான் ஏன் நல்லவனாக இருக்கணும் அப்படிங்கிறதுக்கு மார்க்சிசமில் அவருக்கு பதிலே கிடைக்கலையா, நம்ம ஹிந்து தர்மத்தில் தான் அவருக்கு பதில் கிடைச்சுதான். தேர்ஃபோர் இந்த பக்கம் வந்தார் இப்போதைக்கு. ஸோ அந்த வகையில் தர்மத்துக்காக செயல்படுறவா, தன்னோட வாழ்க்கையை வந்து அப்படியே அர்ப்பணிச்சவா அத்தனை பேருமே நம்ம கொண்டாடணும். அந்த வகையில் தான் பூஜ்ய ஸ்ரீ பிரேமா அம்மாவையும் நாம் எல்லாம் கொண்டாட கடமைப்பட்டிருக்கோம். இந்த ஆன்மீகம் அப்படிங்கிறது என்ன விசேஷம்னா, ஒரு பால் ஒரு பச்சை கற்பூரத்தையோ கேசர் பதை போட்டால் பால் முழுக்க அப்படியே கமகமன் மனமாயிடுறது. ஆன்மீகம் அப்படிதான். நம்ம ஒன்ஸ் இந்த ஆன்மீகம் டச், ஒவ்வொரு துறையில் நம்ம எல்லாருமே இருக்கோம், அந்த துறையில் மட்டும்தான் இருப்போம். பட் ஆன்மீகம் நம்ம வாழ்க்கையில் என்டர் ஆச்சுன்னா நம்மளோட என்டையர் வாழ்க்கையே அதனால ஒரு மனம் வந்துடும். அப்படிங்கிறதுனால இந்த இவாளெலாம் ரொம்ப கொண்டாடப்பட வேண்டிய ஒரு நபர். அண்ட் ஏதோ ஒரு மாதிரி கிடையாது, நம்ம துஷ்யந்த்ஜி மாதிரி பிரேமாமா மாதிரி ஒரு கரிஸ்மாவும் இருக்கணும். அப்போ தான் வந்து ஒரு நிறைய பேரை ரீச் பண்ணவும் முடியும். இப்போதைக்கு கர்நாடிக் மியூசிக்கில் எத்தனையோ பெரிய பெரிய வித்வான்கள்லாம் இருக்கா. ஆனால் ஒரு சஞ்சய் சுப்பிரமணியம் பண்ணால் அரங்கம் அப்படியே ஒரு களை கட்டுறதா இல்லையா? அது மாதிரி வி நீட் கரிஸ்மேட்டிக் ஃபிகர்ஸ் லைக் இது. பிரேமாஜி வாஸ் ஒன் சச் ஒரு கரிஸ்மேட்டிக் ஃபிகர். ஆனால் அந்த அம்மா வந்து வாழ்க்கை வந்து காலம் முடிஞ்சிடுச்சு. ஆனால் அந்த பணியை தொடர்ந்து பண்ணுறாங்களே ரமேஷ்ஜி மாதிரி அவங்க டீம் முழுக்க அத்தனை பேர், அவளை தான் முதல்ல நான் செல்யூட் பண்ணணும்னு நினைக்கிறேன். இப்போதைக்கு வெரி வெரி இம்பார்ட்டண்ட். அது எவ்வளோ கஷ்டத்தில் அவங்க செயல்படுறாங்கிற நான் கேள்விப்பட்டேன். இப்பொழுதுக்கு இருந்தால் கூட விடாமல் அந்த பணியை வந்து தொடர்ந்து செஞ்சுட்டு இருக்கா. இந்த நிகழ்ச்சியில் கலந்துன்றது எனக்கு ஒரு பாக்கியமாக நான் நினைக்கிறேன். ஐ எம் மோர் என்ன சொல்கிறது, துஷ்யந்த்ஜியோட லெக்சரை கேட்குறதா நான் மெயினாக நான் வந்திருக்கேன். தேங்க்யூ ஸோ மச்.
Thank you so much, sir. I request Murli ji to kindly say a few words, please.
எல்லாத்துக்கும் நமஸ்காரம். ரெஸ்பெக்டட் ஆனரபிள் ஜட்ஜ் சொன்னார் சார் அண்ட் எல்லாத்தினாலையும் பாராட்டப்படக்கூடிய இன்றைக்கி நம்ம எல்லாருமே அவரோட ஸ்பீச்சுக்கு தான் வந்திருக்கோம் கேட்கணுன்னு. துஷ்யந்த் ஸ்ரீதர் சார் ஜி நமஸ்காரம். பிரேமாஜியை பற்றி சொல்லணுன்னா இந்த ஹால் அப்படி நிறைஞ்சு வழியும். அவங்க கிருஷ்ணா கிருஷ்ணான்னு கூப்பிட்றப்போ அந்த கிருஷ்ணன் வந்துடுவார். எல்லாத்து கண்ணையும் தண்ணி வரும். அவ்வளோ தூரம் உருக்கமாக 2 மணி நேரம் நமக்குள்ளே இருக்கக்கூடிய கிருஷ்ணரை வெளியில் எடுக்கக்கூடிய சக்தி அம்மாவுக்கு மட்டும்தான் இருக்குது. அவ்வளவு பவர்ஃபுல் எனர்ஜிஃபைடு பர்சன். நம்மளை அத்தனை பேர்த்தையும் அந்த லோகத்துக்கு கொண்டு போடக்கூடிய சக்தி இருக்குது. அவங்க வாழ்ந்த காலத்தில் நம்ம வாழ்ந்தோங்கிறதே ரொம்ப பெருமை. அம்மா ரொம்ப ஆசையாக எல்லாத்தையும் இப்போ என்ன மேலே ஆசையாக இருப்பான்னு தான் நான் நினைப்பேன். அங்கே வந்து பார்த்தேன்னா அத்தனை பேர்த்து மேலேயும் அப்படி ஒரு பிரியம் நான் பார்த்துருக்கேன். அந்த ட்ரஸ்டீஸ் ஜட்ஜையா சொன்ன மாதிரி நிஜமாக சல்யூட் பண்ண வேண்டும். உங்ககிட்டலாம் ஒரே ரிக்வஸ்ட், நீங்கள் வாங்க அம்மாவோட ஆசிரமத்தை பாருங்கள், அந்த குருவாயூரப்பனை பாருங்கள். ஆசையாக அந்த குருவாயூரப்பனை அங்கே கொண்டு வந்து வச்சுருக்காங்க. அங்கேருந்து கொண்டு வந்து இங்கே கொண்டு வந்து வச்சுருக்காங்க. அவ்வளோ ஆசையாக இருக்கும். அவ்வளோ ஆசையாக அந்த இடத்துல நிறைய பண்ணியிருக்காங்க. அங்கே பூரா அவங்க வியாபிச்சிருக்காங்க. அம்மா நீங்கள் வரணும், அவங்களோட ஆசீர்வாதத்தை நிறைய அங்கேருந்து பெற்றுக்கணும், நிறைய சர்வீஸ் பண்ணணும். நீங்களும் அந்த சர்வீஸில் ஒரு பார்ட்டாக இருக்கணும்னு ஆசைப்பட்றேன். அம்மா வந்து சாதாரணமாக இப்போ என்னோடய மனசுக்குள்ள அம்மா எங்கேயோ உட்காந்துட்ருப்பாங்க. அவ்வளோ தூரம் ஆசை அவங்களுக்கு. எல்லாத்தோடையும் பேசணும், ஏதாவது பண்ணணும், ஏதாவது பண்ணணும். சின்ன சந்தோஷங்களை எல்லாத்துக்கும் கொடுக்கணும். அந்த தீபாவளி நேரத்தில் அந்த கிராமத்தில் இருக்கக்கூடிய அத்தனை பேர்த்தையும் வர வச்சு சின்ன சந்தோஷங்கள். ரொம்ப பெரிய மனசு, ரொம்ப ஆசை. அவங்க பாகவதம் படிக்கிறாங்க. அது எல்லாத்துக்கும் மேலே தனிப்பட்ட முறையில் எல்லாத்தையும் அம்மாங்கிற ஸ்தானத்துலேருந்து இதெல்லாம். ஏன்னா அம்மா அன்புங்கிறதுக்கு ஈடு இணையே கிடையாது. அம்மா அன்புங்கிறது என்னோடய அம்மா அன்பு மட்டும் இல்லை, எல்லாத்துக்குள்ளேயும் அந்த அம்மாவோட ஜி தான். அவங்களுடைய ஆசீர்வாதம் அங்கே வந்து அந்த அம்மாவோட சுவாமி ரூமோ அங்கே இருக்கக்கூடிய இடங்களோ ஏதாவது ஒரு மூலையில் உட்காந்து ஒரு 10 நிமிஷம் மெடிடேட் பண்ணால் கூட we are getting the blessings of அம்மா. ரொம்ப சந்தோஷம் இதில் கலந்துக்கிறதுல, ரொம்ப பெருமை. தேங்க்யூ.
Thank you, sir, for your inspiring words. I would now request, before I ask Dushyant ji to take over the mic, if our guests could kindly take your seats down so that we'll give him the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, it is customary for us in our tradition to garland the speaker on the Vyasa Peetham. Today I have the very enviable task to do that on your behalf and all the trustees.
கொஞ்சம் வால்யூம் ஏற்றுக்கோ. இன்னும் கொஞ்சம் வால்யூம். கேட்குறதா? ராமானுஜதயாபாத்திரம் ஞானவைராகியபூஷணம் ஸ்ரீமத்வேங்கடநாதாரியம் வந்தே வேதாந்ததேசிகம் லக்ஷ்மீநாதசமாரம்பாம் நாதயாமுனமध्यமாம் अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां यो नित्यम् अच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुक्मव्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणं प्रपद्ये माता पिता युवतयस्तनया विभूतिः सर्वं यदेव नियमेन मदन्वयानाम् आद्यस्य नः कुलपतेर्वकुलाभिरामं श्रीमत्तदङ्घ्रियुगलं प्रणमामि मूर्ध्ना भूतं सरश्च महदाह्वयभट्टनाथ श्रीभक्तिसारकुलशेखर योगिवाहान् भक्ताङ्घ्रिरेणुपरकाल यतीन्द्रमिश्रान् श्रीमत्पराङ्कुशमुनिं प्रणतोऽस्मि नित्यम् नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदीरयेत्. A very good evening to the August gathering. It is my fortune and indeed a blessing to be speaking at the very premises that has been the stage for so many stalwarts, so many eloquent speakers in Sanatana Dharma. I am very, very grateful to the trust, the committee members, and the volunteers of the trust who have invited me to speak on the day that commemorates one of the best speakers this last century has seen. Most speakers become famous over a period of time. Very few are famous when they begin their career. And that fame lasts till they live and lasts even if their Atma has departed the physical body. One such great personality, a towering personality herself of the Lord, is Pujya Shri Prema Pandurang. I used to live in a locality called the JP Nagar First Phase. And if there were lectures in that part of Bangalore, I still remember that we used to live in a colony called the State Bank of India colony, SBI colony. There used to be a big crowd that used to go for her lectures. So her discourses were a style quotient in herself. And with her speaking skills and her devotion, she was able to attract the minds of people of different age groups, which in itself is a big achievement for a speaker like her. My namaskarams to her and to the kind words that were showered by the Honorable Justice and Shriman Murali sir here. Thanks to you. And the topic chosen for the day is Vishnu Sahasranamam. I was asked by one of my closest friends and confidants before I started for this discourse, how do you feel rendering a discourse in English? People who are used to listening to my Tamil discourses will have this question. Nevertheless, Bhasha Geetif Prashasta Bhagavati Vachanat Rajavachopacharat, states Vedanta Deshika. Language be whatever. The content is what is and over the language. So, the English may have been at loggerheads with us for over 200 years, but the language isn't. So, a language should never be opposed or forced upon. A language is something that one needs to inculcate, relish, and cherish. So, English is also one such language. Nevertheless, speaking in Tamil, which is my mother tongue and supposedly the mother tongue to many of you present in the audience, has a different connect. But having been rendering English discourses, just not in India and abroad, I am used to English discourses. So let's for a moment forget that I have been speaking in Tamil. Let's assume that English is the only language now that I'm going to speak on. So the topic chosen for the day is Shri Vishnu Sahasranamam. Narayanam namaskritya naranchaiva narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. Jayam Udirayet. Mahabharata is also called Jaya. In this Bharata Panchamo Vedaha, in this supposedly fifth Veda, the word supposedly, I'm using it very carefully, because there are only 4. But our ancestors were of the firm opinion that if at all the fifth Veda status has to be accorded to one of our scriptures, which scripture should it be? To that question they have answered, Bharata Panchamo Vedaha. If at all there is a scripture that could be accorded the status of the fifth Veda, it has to be Sri Mahabharatam. Mahabharata is said to house 5 ratnas in it. Viduraniti, Yaksha Prashnam, Sanat Sujatiyam, Vishnu Sahasranamam and Bhagavad Gita. Of the 5, Vishnu Sahasranamam is the only work that many people have memorized. Even if Bhagavad Gita has numerous commentaries, Vishnu Sahasranamam has been one of our daily routines in many, many houses. Bhagavad Pada in Moha Mudgaram, which is called as Bhajagovindam, gives a very distinct position to Vishnu Sahasranamam. Geyam Gita Nama Sahasram Dhyeyam Shripati Rupa Majasram. Geyam Gita Nama Sahasram. Nama Sahasram. Today being the day that is special for Nammalvar as well. Nammalvar mentions in his works Ayiram Payar Udayan. Tirumangayalvar, one of the celebrated mystic saints in the Tamil Bhakti tradition, states in his work called as Siriya Tirumadal, Karar Kulal Kondai Katuvichi Katteri Shirar Shulakil Chilanel Piditheriya Vera Vidir Vidira Meisilira Kaimova Perayiramudayan Yendral Perteyum Karar Tirumeni Kattinal. To a girl who was enamored by the Lord's beauty, her mother brings in a lady who would do prophecy telling, who would tell what will be in store for this little girl in the future. At that point in time, the mother bribes her with a handful of grains. This lady, who's a fortune teller, tells, your girl has been afflicted with a fever that has been caused by the one who owns 1,000 names. So Tirumangayalvar also acknowledges Vishnu Sahasranamam. Andal in her Nachiyar Tirumozhi states, Namamayiram yeta nindra Narayana Narane Unnai Mamitan. Namam Ayiram yeta nindra. So the southern part of our country, during the times of Andal, Swami Nammalvar and Tirumangayalvar, Andal lived by the banks of river Kritamala or Vaigai. Tirumangayalvar lived by the banks of river Kaveri or Ponni. Nammalvar lived by the banks of river Tamraparani. All three luminaries in the Tamil tradition have acknowledged Vishnu Sahasranamam, which states that Vishnu Sahasranamam is time immemorial. Today I have been asked to speak on Vishnu Sahasranamam's Vaibhavam or Mahatmyam. There are 2-3 ways of approaching Vishnu Sahasranamam, but Mahajano Yenagatissa Panthaha. Let us now trace the footsteps of our ancestors. One of the famed commentators to Sri Vishnu Sahasranamam was born in this very Tamil Nadu. His name was Swami Parashara Bhatta, the commentator to Vishnu Sahasranamam. He didn't comment on the names as names. He said that each name in Vishnu Sahasranamam depicts the auspicious attribute of the Lord, Kalyana Gunam. So when you write down the names of Vishnu Sahasranamam, Vishvam, Vishnu, Vashatkaraha, Bhuta Bhavya Bhavat Prabhu, Bhuta Krit, till Sarva Praharana Yudha, which is the 1,000th name, he says, please keep a mirror in front of that rooster, that list. What you will see is not the mirror image of the names, but you will rather see a quality that is depictive of every namam. ஒவ்வொரு நாமத்துக்கும் என்ன குணம் என்பதை காண்பிக்கக்கூடிய கண்ணாடியாக இருக்கும். Names depict the gunas of the Lord. So the commentary of Vishnu Sahasranamam by Parashara Bhatta is called Bhagavad Guna Darpanam. In a lighter vein, the Honorable Justice brought in one of the names of the Lord, Shankhi. And in the Tamil language, there is not much of a difference between the ka and the kha and the ga. So he said Shankhi could become Sangi. Because has asked me to explain the name of that namam. Similarly, ta and da do not see a difference in the be Bhagavad Guna Darpanam or Tarpanam. We have to be very, very careful. Let us not perform the final rites to this particular scripture. I am sure the person who has composed it has put in a lot of efforts for it to last for centuries and millenniums together. So it is still Darpanam, which is Kannadi. While commenting upon each of the namas in Vishnu Sahasranamam, Parashara Bhatta has mentioned 6 unique characteristics of Vishnu Sahasranamam. Let us get into each of them, and for each of the quality, I will try relating a nama from the Vishnu Sahasranamam in the time given to me. While commencing this particular work, he pays obeisances to his preceptors. Vande Govinda Tatau Munimatha Manavai Lakshmanaryam Mahantam Dhyayeyam Yamunaryam Mama Hridi Tanavai Ramamevabhiyamam Padmaksham Prekshashiya Prathamamapi Munim Nathamide Shatarim Staumi Preksheya Lakshmim Sharanam Asharanaha Sridharam Samshrayeyam. He says, I salute right from Lakshmi Narayana to Vishwaksena, to Nammalvar, to Nathamuni, to Yamuna Muni, to Ramanuja Muni, to Yambar. After offering his salutations, he now suggests 6 characteristics of Vishnu Sahasranamam. If you have the recording facility in your mobile, please copyright issue. Because what I am citing is what our acharyas have mentioned. I will not have the audacity to say that anything that I have stated is copyrighted, not at all. 1. While doing so, there is one option of putting your mobile on the flight mode and recording. That would be a better option, because there will be many of your family members who will be worried as to why you have not returned home. Message them that 8:32 my lecture will be done, because I was given the stage 2 minutes later. So 8:32 I will be finishing the lecture, and you will be reaching home very safely with the namas that will be protecting you. Now, the 6 qualities. Mahabharata Saratvat, Rishibhif Pariganataha, Vedacharya Samaharat, Bhishmotkrishtha Matatvataha, Parigrahati Geetat Yaikarthakaschanaha. These are the 6 qualities. Wow! That by the end of the lecture, many of them, of course, come and tell me towards the end of the lecture or write to me, stating that, well, sir, I love the content that is being provided to us in Sanatana Dharma, but I don't know how to remember them. Because we have learned so many things which are wrong and flawed, that the art of unlearning itself needs to be learned first. So, let us unlearn what we have learned wrongly and let us make space. It's just like clearing the memory in your phone or in your Mac, so that you can retain what is relevant and required. Very easy qualities. You have to vow that by the end of this lecture, you should remember these 6 qualities. Do not note it down. Remember to retain. It will. Immaterial and irrespective of your age. You have to command your brain to retain. Your brain is under your control. Nobody else's control. Retain. Remember. Mahabharata Saratvat. This is the first feature of Vishnu Sahasranamam, for which I will read out what Parashara Bhatta has commented, Mahabharatotkarsha samarthana purvakam Mahabharata saratva kathanam Mahabharatam hi parigraha visheshavasita viplava vachana sauštavadyatmatvat iti prabalyat Puraneshu tavat Vayuh prokta shaivayoho. He cites Shiva Puranam towards it. Even Shiva Puranam, he states, that Puranam which hails or gives importance to Lord Shiva, Paramashiva, states, Mati Manthanam Avidya Yenadau Shruti Sagarat Jagat Hitaya Janitaha Mahabharata Chandrama. It seems VESVAS, he had his intellect as the churning rod and Vedam as the very milk or the curds. He tried churning the curds to get the butter out of it, and that butter which was akin to the whiteness of the moon that arose was Mahabharatam. Bharata Panchamo Vedaha. In fact, Shastram tells, a student should end up praising one's guru. Pratyakshe Guravastutyat. But it also abhors the parent from praising their children. Shastram tells the mother or the father should not praise their children. They should let the others praise. Of course, we live in different times now. We live in different times. The rishis were oblivious of what we were getting into future. So a child brings a glass of water. I put my palms together. And I say, thank you so much. So thanks has become a word which is so commonly used. And the child keeps waiting till he gets that thanks from me. Why blame it on the person who receives the water? So we live in a different era. Nevertheless, Bharavi, one of the greatest poets, Upama Kalidasasya Bharaver Arthagauravam. Bharavi gave us the beautiful work called as Kiratarjuniyam. Shriyak Kurunam Adhipasya Palanim Prajasuvrittim Yamayunta Veditum. This is how his work commences. He was praised by the entire town. He was called a prodigy in Sanskritam, a person who used to come up with verses in different meters. But his father refused to praise. So at one point in time, he wanted to kill his father. He knew where his father would exactly sit while he used to have lunch. So he thought he'll drop a huge boulder on him so that he gets him crushed that very moment. That day, apparently, Bharavi's mother put this question to her husband. While the entire town is praising the talents of our child, why do you refuse to acknowledge? The father said, don't you think I'm proud of my son? Shastram tells, do not praise your son. I am very proud of him, but I wouldn't praise in front of him. That is when Bharavi falls at the feet of his father and seeks remorse. Says, what I've done is a mistake. Why did I bring this anecdote here? Because a father should not be praising the child. But Parashara Maharshi tells his student Maitreya, Krishnadvaipayanam Vyasam Vidhinarayanam Prabhum Kohyanyo Bhuvi Maitreya Mahabharata Kritbhavet. My dear student Maitreya, who in this world can match the caliber of my son Krishnadvaipayana or VESVAS? For nobody can give a work, a compendium like Mahabharatam, what my son has given. Despite knowing the Shastra Vakyam that the father should not praise the son, if Parashara Maharshi has stated that VESVAS is great, it is similar to Janaka who said, Iyam Sita Mama Suta, my daughter. So in that beautiful work called Mahabharatam, who is the hero? Krishna is the hero. Who is the heroine? Krishna. Very good. Draupadi is the heroine. Generally in a work, the hero and the heroine will have the relationship of the husband and the wife. But here they are the thickest of the friends. In this work called as Mahabharatam, the hero is Krishna and the heroine is Krishna. Today I am not supposed to use the word heroine. I hope you are all aware. It is actor male, actor female. So in whichever way you construe, in Sri Mahabharatam, the heroine is Draupadi. In this work, Draupadi happens to be the most humiliated and the most kidnapped woman. Towards the end of Sri Krishnavataram, Uddhava, the very close friend of Krishna, goes to him and he asks Krishna, I know that you are Paramatma in the disguise of a human being. I know that while you were born to Vasudeva and Devaki in the jail premises, you were born as Paramatma with a Divyamangala Vigraham. Tamadbhutam balakam ambujekshanam chaturbhujam shankagadaryudharyudam. I know you were born like that. Towards the end of this incarnation, Krishna, Uddhava asks, has your avatarams a mission or goal accomplished? Krishna states no. No, Uddhava. I'm carrying a huge burden with me. I've loaned. I'm carrying a rinam with me. There is a shlokam, rinam pravriddham iva me hridayan. There is a vakyam in Mahabharatam. Krishna tells, I'm carrying a loan with me. Uddhava asked, what is that loan? Krishna says, while that lady, my dearest friend, Draupadi, while she was being humiliated in the court of Dhritarashtra, she completely trusted in me. Though I was miles apart, she was in Hastinapuram and I was in Dwaraka, protecting my city and my citizens. I was fighting a battle in Dwaraka. Despite knowing that I'm miles apart, she completely trusted in me and said, Dhyeyas sada savitrimandala madhyavarti Narayana sarasijasana sannivishtaha keyuravan makarakundalavan kiriti hari hiranmaya vapuhu dhrita shankachakraha dwaraka nilayachyuta govinda pundarika ksharakshamam sharanagatam. She called me Govinda, Gavam Indraha, the one who has protected the cows. Shankachakra Gadapane, are you a scarecrow who just carries weapons as a show, or are you here to protect people like me? People say that you have eyes akin to the petals of the lotus that has blossomed by receiving the rays of the rising sun. But today, as a lady who is being humiliated in the court amidst so-called learned and valorous people, I call out your name. And while she called Uddhava, I did help. But till date, I feel that I could have done much more. For that one name, Govinda, that she called out so much, so with love, affection and confidence, I feel that I have not done enough. This person who feels that he has not done much for his devotees for their true unadulterated devotion is called as Analaha. I told you for every quality I'll be explaining one nama. This nama is Analaha. So this is the place where it comes, because we are all experts in Vishnu Sahasranamam only if it flows in a certain order. Correct? It has to go in a certain order. Vasureta Vasufpradaha Vasuprado Vasudevo Vasur Vasumanahavihi Sadgatihi Satkritihi Satta Sadbhutihi Satparayanaha Shuraseno Yadusreshtaha Sannivasa Suyamunaha Bhuta Vaso Vasudevaha Sarvasu Nilayo Analaha. That Anala means, I will recite the line what he has commented. Swabhakta Vishayagadham Sodhum Analam Itiva Yathaha Swabhaktebhyaha Kritam Gantum Nalam Sadhum Sava. The one who feels that what he has done for his devotees is not enough is called Analaha. So the first quality of Mahabharatam is, of Vishnu Sahasranamam is, it is the essence of Mahabharatam. Mahabharata Saratvat. What is Mahabharatam's Saram? That Krishna helped Krishna. Where do we see that? In Vishnu Sahasranamam, in the Namam Analaha. So this is the first quality. Second quality, Mahabharata Saratvat. Second quality, Rishibhif Pariganataha. My name does not occur in Vishnu Sahasranamam. My name does not occur in Vishnu Sahasranamam. What should I do? Change my name? My name does not occur in Vishnu Sahasranamam. I agree that Vishnu Sahasranamam is the compendium of 1,000 holy names of the Lord. Is my name not holy? Or is it a name with the whole? So what should I do? Remember that 1,000 names of Vishnu does not mean that there are only 1,000 names in the world. In Vishnu Sahasranamam we say, Rishibhiv Parigitani. Rishis have chosen these names. I remember during my elementary school days, there used to be a big celebrity in our TV channels, Pepsi Uma. She used to come every Thursday and she used to ask, which song do you like? And then that song will be played. Tunes chooses to have these 10 songs. Spotify chooses to have these 10 renditions. It doesn't mean the other renditions are missing. Similarly, in this Jagat, there are lakhs and lakhs of names of the Lord. I will go one step further. Every proper noun in this world denotes only the Paramatma. Every proper noun. Be it Ravana, be it Duryodhana, be it Raghavachari, be it Krishnamachari, be it Swaminathan, be it Subramanyam, be it Kuppuswamy, be it Sendil, be it John, be it Hussein. Every nama denotes only one person. Because Vagartha viva sampriktau, says Kalidasa at the commencement of Raghuvamsham. Every word and its meaning has to denote only one person. Now you may ask a counter question. If you don't ask, Pandey will ask me. Why should my child not be called John then? Correct? Remember that we choose names whatever Purvacharyas have chosen. The theoretical statement that every proper noun in this world denotes the Lord is true. But we also follow whatever ancestors have done, which is the easiest way of leading our life. If we have to question everything in our life, then life will become a turmoil. We follow whatever ancestors have done. My ancestors have called their children by the name Srinivasan, Krishnan, Raman. So we keep those names in a simple form. That's all. This is not to negate the very fact that the other names do not denote the Lord. Every name has to denote the Lord. Given that, what is the second quality of Vishnu Sahasranamam? Rishibhiv Pariganataha. The rishis have chosen the 1,000 names. How do we know that? Rama was called to protect the sacrifice of Vishwamitra. Kariyashemmal oruvanai tandidudi, tells Kambar in Kambaramayanam. Swaputram Rajashardulam Ramam Satyaparakramam Kakapaksha-dharam Veeram Jeshtham me Datumarasi, says Valmiki. While Dasharatha initially refused to part with his son because he was the apple of his eye. There is one brand also for children. Ayo miyo edo onnu irukku. Apple of my eye. But Vasishtha intervened and said, see, though Vishwamitra and I have a very troubled past, I would still recommend your son to go for a 6-day internship with Vishwamitra. Let him participate in an internship that is worth participating. And while Rama was asleep in the early hours of the morning, even before the Brahma Muhurtam, Sitram Siru Kalai, Vishwamitra woke up and he wanted to wake up Rama. There was a method of waking up kings and princes in those days. you would either play the veena or you will have Vaitalikas, the bards who would sing praises about them. They had a luxurious life. Vishwamitra was the only one in these woods, so he had to wake up Rama. He sings, Kausalya, 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 Praja, Supraja, Supraja, Kausalya, Kausalya, Supraja. 45 minutes. He sang these two words. Why was he refusing to mention the next word? Because the next word is Rama. This was the name given to the boy by Vasishtha. How will Vishwamitra use this name? But then he said, I would never fail in front of Vasishtha, but if at all there is a situation where I have miserably failed, it is this Nama, because I tried my level best to not utter the name, the Nama, given to this boy by Vasishtha, but now I feel, even if I was given an opportunity to call this boy by a certain name, there was no better name than the word Rama. Ramayatiti Ramaha. The Nama that makes one enjoy while they are even uttering that Nama. You don't have to move with that person. Rama. That name itself has the magic in it, it seems. So this was the name given to the boy by a rishi called Vasishtha. This was the name taken out, recited by another. That is the second unique feature of Vishnu Sahasranamam. Rishibhiv Pariganataha. Where do we see this Nama? So here it comes. Parardhiv Paramaspashtaha Tushtaf Pushta Shubhikshanaha Ramaha Viramaha Virataha Margaha Neyaha Nayo Anayaha. So it comes there. So while mentioning this Namam, Parashara Bhatta gives many references. Ramo Ramayatam Sreshtha Gunabhiramam Ramam Cha Shyamo Yuva Lohitaksha Matanganamam Iva Paryayaha. The one whose gait will be that of a majestic elephant. The one who is as charming as what the stars, the constellation of stars could be. So Vishnu Sahasranamam, the first quality, Mahabharata Saratvat. Second, Rishibhiv Pariganataha. Third, Vedacharya Samaharat. These names by Bhishmacharya. See, generally when elderly people stay with us in the best of their health, in robust health, we would never end up asking them questions or get our doubts clarified. Suppose if I have to know how to make more kali, there is no exact translation of more kali in English. So let's keep certain words as non-translatables. And it is more kali. It is an admixture of rice flour with sour buttermilk boiled together and seasoned with mustard seeds at the top with some curry leaves at the bottom. This is the best I could describe more kali as. So if I have to, as a person who's interested in trying out different dishes and cuisines, if I have to ask my grandmother how to make more kali, I should be asking her while she is suffering from good health. Correct. Instead, I wait for a day while she is spending her last minutes in the ICU. The nurses have reminded me that she wouldn't be living for long. And that is when I go and ask her, More kali pannuviye? Eppadinu sollu. This Bhishmacharya was an overlived person in Hastinapura. He has seen his father Shantanu. He has seen his brothers Vichitravirya and Chitrangada. He has seen his brothers' children, Pandu and Dhritarashtra. He has seen their children, apparently his grandchildren, Arjuna and Kauravas, and then he has seen the next generation, which included Abhimanyu, and he also knows that Abhimanyu's wife is carrying a kid. So he has seen so many generations. If at all Yudhishthira had a place to ask questions, he could have asked all these days, years before. But he chose a place when Bhishmacharya was lying on the bed of arrows. Kimekam daivatam loke, kim vapyekam parayanam, stuvantah kam, kamarchantaha prapnayurmanavaha shubham, kodharmas sarvadharmanam bhavatah paramomataha, kim japan muchyate jantur janma samsara bandhanat. It was not a question. He bombarded him with 6 questions. Bhishmacharya could have just said, get away. Now when I'm suffering on the bed of arrows, is this when you come and ask? You know what Bhishmacharya did? He said, I will answer those questions, and answered questions. And he ended up giving the compendium of 1,000 names. But just imagine for a minute. Mahabharatam or Ramayanam has been coming to us in the form of poetry, padyam. In no sane society of the present or of the past, be it in the Sanskritam language or in the English world, people will be speaking in a poetic fashion. Correct? என்னை ஈன்றெடுத்த தாயே, பூமியின் மீது நடந்து வருவாயாக, எனக்கு தண்ணீர் பருக வேண்டும், நீ அதர் எனக்கு. Is this the way we talk with our parents? Just because we have to go 3,000, 5,000 or lakhs of years before, we cannot assume that people spoke in a poetic fashion. Maybe they had a better sense of poetry, but their everyday conversations would have happened in prose, like how we speak. But Mahabharatam has come to us in the form of poetry. So, who has brought it to us in poetry? That is VESVAS. He has seen the situation, he has gauged the situation, and knows that memory can master only rhythms. When it comes in the form of music, people look at each other and check, oh, it just happened a week back in Music Academy. And how is he able to state that? Correct. So, rhythm gets stationed in our heart. So, that is why VESVAS gave us in the form of poetry. So, this is the next quality, which is the third one, Vedacharya Samaharat. It is no normal person who has brought this compendium called as Vishnu Sahasranamam to us. It is none but the one who has compiled the Vedas called Badarayana or Krishna Dvaipayana or Vyasa, who has given us Vishnu Sahasranamam. See, songs can be many. Even today people are composing. But why are the compositions of Tyagaraja and Shyama Shastri and Dikshitar so important? Because what is composed is important as much as who is composing it. The one who is composing it should be a yajva, a person with vairagyam and jnanam. Just because I know the art of composing, compositions cannot be celebrated in the years after I live. It has to be the person who compiles it. VESVAS has compiled. How do we know that? Here we have this nama, Dravina Pradaha Divisprik Sarvadrig Vyaso Vachaspatihi. Vachaspati is the nama. So I will read out what does Vachaspatihi mean. Panchama Veda Rupayaha Vachaha Swami. The one who eloquently gave us Mahabharatam is called as Vachaspati. So VESVAS is Vachaspati. Vachaspati means one who has the art, knows the art of speaking. See, if I have to speak to a young crowd, imagine there are school children seated here, students of class 11th and 12th. I should have the different art. I should bring out examples from the books that they read. Maybe Hardy Boys. If they've been reading Hardy Boys, from Hardy Boys, from Harry Potter. If it's Harry Potter, I have to bring Harry Potter. I should relate to them. It's not about what is correct on stage. It is about how I can relate to the audience. Vachaspatihi. VESVAS was a great Vachaspati. You should see the same VESVAS while describing Urvashi's dance in Amaravati Patnam while Arjuna was there to accept the Divyastrams. Gives the most words that are very, very similar to Mills and Boons. But he is the same Vedavyasa who gives us Sankhya Yogam in Bhagavad Gita while he describes Krishna's character. You need to have a complete knowledge of Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksham to be a master in Mahabharatam. And that master in Mahabharatam has given us this compendium called as Vishnu Sahasranamam. So that is the third quality. Fourth, Bhishmotkrishtha Matatvataha. There is always a debating point in Bhishmacharya's life. Despite being the person who learnt under Parashurama, the most valorous, who promised that from the day he vowed he will not have a relationship with a woman for the sake of his father, who did not have a family for the sake of his father, who later gave us Vishnu Sahasranamam, why was he mute when Draupadi asked for help in the court? Isn't this a raging question? In his opinion, he was bound to the throne of Hastinapura. But Dharmam says, when there are tough situations, you will have to rise up for Dharma. You are not bound by that ECS money transfer every month from Dhritarashtra's account. You are not bound by it. But why was he mute? He said that I am mute because I feel interpretation is very important in Dharma Shastram. So in his interpretation, he thought that the woman is the property of a man. So while she asked, how could my husband pawn me if he has pawned himself first? He said, you could be the possession of your husband, so he was not theoretically wrong. But he was wrong. He was proven wrong. How was he proven wrong? He was to deliver Vishnu Sahasranamam. But when did he deliver that? Only after he withered in pain on the bed of arrows, towards the end of it, while he was comfortably numb, was he able to deliver Vishnu Sahasranamam. Why? Because Krishna thought, if at all the best of the holy works called Vishnu Sahasranamam has to come out from the mouth of Bhishmacharya, it cannot come out from the mouth of that body that has been fed by Duryodhana and his father. So only when the body had withered pain and all the blood and the other fluids had drained out and he was left at molasses, that is when he uttered. But Bhishmacharya is respected as the most learned person in Sri Mahabharatam. How do we know that? As an administrator, as the king, as a learned king, education and administration used to go hand in hand then. So, Yudhishthira, he goes and asks Krishna, I need to learn about the rules of good administration, scam-free administration. What should I do? You know what Krishna tells? Don't ask me this. There is one person who is an encyclopedia of Dharma Shastram here, who is Bhishmacharya. If at all his Atma departs from his physical body, Jnaninaha alpi bhavishyanti. There will be a scarcity of learned people on this earth. Go run to him and ask. That is why Yudhishthira goes and asks Moksha Dharmam, Rajya Dharmam, Raja Dharmam, everything from Bhishma. On the other hand, they all leave to their original places. Krishna is back to Dwaraka. Yudhishthira and his brothers are back to Hastinapura, while Bhishmacharya was still lying on the bed of arrows. On the day of Uttarayana Punya Kalam, while Bhishmacharya's Atma was about to leave his physical body, Krishna was playing dice with Rukmini. Suddenly, Krishna shed tears. And Rukmini was surprised. It is generally Krishna who brings tears. And how was he shedding tears? She asked, why have things turned topsy-turvy today? Why are you shedding tears? Krishna said, Sharatalpa gato Bhishmaha. Bhishma's Atma is departing from his body. And after Bhishma, I see no person who can be as learned as him. Bhishmotkrishtah. So how do we understand this nama? There is a beautiful nama called Chalaha. Veeraha Vishamashunyaha Gritashir Achalas Chalaha. Chalaha, what does that mean? The nama Parashara Bhatta comments on. He says, Krishna was related to both the Pandavas and the Dhartarashtras. You know that. Krishna's sister Subhadra was married to Arjuna. So Arjuna was the son-in-law to Dwaraka. Krishna's son was married to Duryodhana's daughter. Duryodhana had a daughter called Lakshmana. And she was married to Krishna and Jambavati's son called as Shambha. So Krishna and Arjuna were Krishna and Duryodhana were Sambandhis. Imagine that. So Krishna and Duryodhana were Sambandhis. Krishna's son-in-law was Arjuna because he had married Krishna's sister. So in the war, Krishna was bound to help both sides. That is when you all will know that Arjuna had come, before which Duryodhana had come, and Duryodhana sat near Krishna's head and Arjuna sat near Krishna's feet. Krishna got up. He gave the option of me on one side and my Sainyam, my entire battalion with all the missiles on the other side. And Duryodhana very well chose the Sainyam and Arjuna chose Krishna. While Duryodhana returned with all gay to his uncle, Shakuni said, "You fool, how could you choose the army and give away Krishna to Arjuna? You have made a grave mistake." Duryodhana said, "What will Krishna do without army? Krishna can do anything without the army. So you go again and ask an appendix to the previous boon, that Krishna should not lift any weapon during the yuddham. Because if you do not lift any weapon in the battlefield, what is your role in the battlefield? Why will Krishna have to go to the battlefield?" Unless you're fighting, what is your role in Kargil? So unless you're fighting, what is your role when you don't have weapons? That is when Krishna said, "Okay, I promise. I will not be lifting any weapon in the yuddham." This is Krishna Satyam. He goes away. Now Krishna was in a dilemma. What to do now? What role can he choose? That is when he called Arjuna, and Arjuna said, "I feel so depressed, Krishna. What will you do on the yuddham?" Krishna said, "Send your driver on casual leave for 20 days and give me that job. I will be your charioteer. Charioteer doesn't need any weapon. I will become your Sarathi." And Krishna became the Sarathi. You know what happened in the other camp? The moment Bhishma heard that Krishna will not be lifting any weapon, he called all the press people, all YouTube channels, and said, "I vow that I will make Krishna lift the weapon." Krishna will lift the weapon. Next day, headlines, Times of Hastinapura. Krishna says, "I will not lift weapon," but Bhishma says he will make him lift weapon. Let us see what will happen. The yuddham kept on happening. On one particular day, when Krishna realized that Arjuna was not giving a serious fight to Bhishma, he jumped from his ratham with hair locks that will bounce and dance like one of the shampoo advertisements. You know, only in advertisements they juggle. So, and then he jumped and took one of the swirling wheels on the ground and lifted it and went around and said, "This will become my chakram and I will aim it on Bhishma." Bhishma put all his weapons down and said, "I'm waiting for the moment when I'll be killed by you. People will inscribe in the golden pages of history, I need to be associated with you. Let me be killed by you." That is when Arjuna comes and says, "No, I will never make my friend break the promise." But the next day, headline, Krishna breaks his promise, right? He lifted the weapon. So Krishna's thought was, I have to make my devotee's promise come true, even if my promise is broken. So the one who lets his devotees' wishes come true, even at the cost of him breaking his promise, is called Chalaha. The Namam Chalaha means the one who lets his devotees win over him. That is the fourth point. I've got 10 more minutes left and 2 more qualities to complete. I will do it. Many people will be worried for me. Mahabharata Saratvat Rishibhiv Parigarataha Vedacharya Samaharat Bhishmotkrishtha Matattvataha. Fifth point. Parigrahati Shayataha. Parigrahati Shayataha means that which has been accepted unanimously. Accepting is one, unanimously is another. Right? If there are 2 kids, the husband and the wife, and they want to cook some dish today, all 4 may not decide on lasagna. All 4 may not decide on a pizza. One may want the other. But here, if there is one thing that all our acharyas have unanimously declared, Vishnu Sahasranamam is a medicine or a panacea in itself. How do we know that? 3 vakyams that Parashara Bhatta cites. He says, Varnayati, Prakritayoho Kavayopavitam Sarvajeevarakshatvena Varnayanti Yathacha Bhattabanaha Sutika Grihavarnane Avichinna Pathyamana Narayana Nama Sahasrakam Purva Kadambariyam. There is a work called as Kadambari. If you all have little time that you all can invest, if you all have some money that you can buy books, please buy books of our ancient literature. There is a work called as Kadambari by Bhattabana. While describing in this novel about the labor ward where children are delivered, he says, Sutika Griham. Sutika Griham means where children are delivered. It seems in those days, remember in those days, while there used to be a labor ward, there used to be a small quadrant, a portion in the labor ward reserved for a few people who will be reciting Vishnu Sahasranamam uninterruptedly for the delivery to happen. If you all have daughters-in-law who are carrying, or prospect mothers, please remember Vishnu Sahasranamam as per, now don't ask me where is the patent, how many respondents have interviewed, what percentage of the respondents had cesarean and how many had normal, how many had epidural in their, don't ask me such questions. If you believe in Sahasranamam, it says that for normal delivery, Vishnu Sahasranamam is a panacea. Sutika Griha Varnane, 1. Second thing he describes, Mahapataka Adiprayaschittaya Aihika Amushmika Mudasiddhaye Samsaraya Grada Vistramthanaya Tadatmika Bhavagad Guna Sudhaswada Sukhayacha. For people who are suffering from kidney problems, respiratory problems, heart problems, people who their astrologers have told you that you have committed Pitrurinam, Pitrudosham, Navagraha Dosham and so on, for that also Vishnu Sahasranamam is the panacea, it seems. Because Brihat Parashara Horashastram tells that while performing any ritual, if there are mistakes committed, towards the end of it in those days, they will recite Vishnu Sahasranamam. It will become all dosha prayaschittam. So Vishnu Sahasranamam is just not 6 to 625 recitation in one of our television channels. It is a prayaschittartham. See, now if I tell you this prayaschittartham, you don't have to question much, because it's the least economical option. Correct? If I tell you travel 3,000 kilometers away in a helicopter, climb that hill with 3,000 steps, then you can ask me, give us a less expensive solution. This is the least expensive. Then, while Purusha Suktam Japyam, even while Charaka Samhita, remember this is very important. This is associated with Kanchi Mahapariva. In Charaka Samhita, Charaka, one of the earliest known surgeons, he tells, despite or after having administered all possible medicines to the patient, it could be Ayurveda or allopathy. You could give glimepiride, glibenclamide, nimucilide, ibuprofen, or you could give one of the herbal concoctions. After giving this, It was a practice in those days. See, if a doctor has to give some antibiotics, after writing the antibiotics, they will write one lactobacillus, or they will write some probiotic or some vitamin solution, right? In those days, while the doctor administers, he used to say, after these medicines, recite Vishnu Sahasranamam thrice. This is what Charaka used to write, it seems. In Madras Patnam, in our Chennai, when Kanchi Mahaperiyava had once come, he had fever going to about 103. His Sishyas were extremely worried about his state. They said, should we call the doctor? Mahaperiyava said, instead call 150 people who can recite Sahasranamam. He called. All 150 landed the very next minute. Periyava had said, 150 people recited Vishnu Sahasranamam thrice. And it has been recorded in his life history that by towards the end of it, it reached the normal state of 98.4. So, Charaka Samhita or Banabhatta, what they state is seen. And why? Because Vishnu Sahasranamam is a medicine and the physician in itself. Who is the physician? 586th Nama, Bishak. Bishak means physician. So, Vishnu Sahasranamam is a physician in itself, the last quality. First one, Mahabharata Saratvat, Rishibhiv Pariganataha, Vedacharya Samaharat. In the mask, I can't even see you all murmuring. I want you all to tell these qualities together. Now people will say, no, government protocol. We have to put the mask. Cases are rising. How can we open our mask? Rishibhiv Pariganataha, Vedacharya Samaharat, Bhishmotkrishtamatattvataha, Parigrahati Shayataha. The last quality, Gita Tyaikartha Kaschanaha. Even the essence of Bhagavad Gita is found in Vishnu Sahasranamam. How do I know that? Who is the one who delivered Bhagavad Gita? Krishna. Who is Krishna? The son of Devaki. What are the names in Vishnu Sahasranamam? Devaki Nandanaha. Who is the one? He is the one who created the entire universe. Srashta. He is the one who is the ruler of this earth. Kshitishaha. What does he do by living on the earth? Eradicates and annihilates our sins. Papanashanaha. What are the ayudhams he sports? Shankhabrin, Nandaki, Chakri, Sharngadhanva, Gadadharaha. So he sports all these ayudhams. Chakri, Sharngadhanva, Gadadharaha. Rathanga Panihi, Akshobhyaha. What is the last namam? You can keep this. Sarva Praharana Yudha. Call your grandson that way. Sarva Praharana Yudha. It has 19 characters in it. I don't know whether application forms have so many blocks. Sarva Praharana Yudha. If you have to call your grandson, Sarva Praharana Yudha. Kootu mudikkathukkulla adu vandutu poidum. Avlo periya pera irke. What does Sarva Praharana Yudha mean? Adi Shankara Bhagavatpada gives a very interesting commentary to this namam. He says the Lord has been using Shankam, Chakram, Gada, Kaumodaki, the sword, Nandakam, bow, Sharangam, and is bored of it. See, we live in the world where working in a company for 2 years causes boredom. VISVAS, a lot of you elderly people and your parents who would have served one organization for 40 years. It was considered as many feathers on one's hat if you would serve an organization for 40 years. Today, if you serve an organization for more than 2 years, you're considered redundant, a person who is less skilled, a person who is wary of taking risks in one's life. So, the Lord was also one of the youngsters. He was bored of using Sudarshanam and Panchajanyam and Sharangam and Kaumodaki and Nandakam. He wanted to be innovative. You know, you call somebody who's being very innovative as a person who thinks out of the box. Correct? He wanted to get out of the box and think. He thought, why can't I use my nails as the weapons? So, Sarva Praharana Yudha, Adi Shankara states, the one who was bored of using his existing weapons and wanted to be very innovative and ended up using his sharpened nails in Nrisimhavataram as the weapons is called Sarva Praharana Yudha. So what is the sixth quality of Vishnu Sahasranamam? It has the essence of Bhagavad Gita. Who is the essence of Bhagavad Gita? Krishna. What did he do? He carried all his weapons. What did he do in his previous avataram? As Nrisimha, he used his nails. So the six qualities of Vishnu Sahasranamam was brought to you with the explanation to certain chosen names from the set of 1,000 chosen names in a very limited span of time. But this opportunity has been bestowed upon me by the blessings of Pujya Shri Prema Pandurangji and her followers, devotees, children, students who have been serving this trust, this charitable trust in its plethora of activities that it has been carrying for decades together. And to all of you who have spent your precious Sunday evening on the essence of Vishnu Sahasranam in our beautiful capital of Bhakti, Tamil Nadu. Thank you so much for your august presence. And in this lecture, I could bring only this much. Do not assume that the significance of Vishnu Sahasranamam can be put forth in just 1 hour. It can go for months and years together. But we know that in a span of time, a speaker should have the eloquence and the ability to put forth the essence of Vishnu Sahasranamam in a nutshell. If I have committed any mistakes in my speaking, Ajnaninam ayadoshan aseshan vihitan hare kshamasvatvam. I seek forgiveness from the learned people in the gathering. I'm sure you would have listened to so many of Premaji's lectures and many other speakers' lectures. Bahudha shrotavyaha, bahubhya shrotavyaha. You must have listened from many, and you must have listened to one topic many times. So this many, which is Bahuvachanam, is a part of your daily life, but you've found it befitting to bless a primitive mortal such as me on this Sunday evening. I thank you all from the bottomest of my heart. Kavitarkika Simhaya Kalyana Gunashaline Srimate Venkateshaya Vedanta Gurave Namaha Swastif Prajabhyah Paripalayantam Nyayena Margena Mahim Mahishaha Gobrahmanebhyah Shubham Astu Nityam Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Kayena Vacha Manasendriyeva Buddhyatmanava Prakriti Swabhavat Karomi Yatyat Sakalam Parasmai Sriman Narayanayeti Samarpayami. Since Premaji has been extremely attached to the presiding deity of Sri Guruvayur, and her blessings were from Upanyasa Chakravarti Sengalipuram Sri Anantarama Dikshitar, I would like to conclude it with Kalyana Rupaya Kalau Jananam Kalyana Dhatre Karuna Sudapte Kamvadi Divya Yudha Satkaraya Vatalayadhisha Namo Namaste Narayana 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 Anantaramakhya Mahi Pranitam Stotram Pathetyastu Narastrikalam Vatalayetascha Kripa Phalena Labheta Sarvani Cha Mangalani Narayana Narayana Narayana. Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Namaskar. Yeah. Okay, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, just 2 minutes more of your time. If there is something I had learned for the last 25 years of listening to Premaji, that is never to fail to express your gratitude. Let me begin with a prayer. Om Namo Narayanaya. With with a prayer of gratitude to our Lord. How can we forget the years we spent with Puja Premaji? The all-encompassing, ever-flowing tsunami of time has taken a soul from us. A year ago, just over a year ago, when we awoke to the sad and shocking news of her demise, it left a void that cannot be filled, I thought, till now, until I heard our speaker for today. When he spoke about the Mahabharatam, it brought back memories. Permit me, I have failed in my manners. Let me first humbly introduce myself. I am Vivek Parusaram from Bangalore. I was introduced to Premaji by my cousin Rameshji. 25 years ago, we had, from that year onwards, the opportunity to conduct her programs every year in Bangalore. The highlight of one of those programs was she chose to do the Mahabharatam for 18 days at the RV Dental College of JP Nagar, which you just mentioned. Coincidentally, apparently you heard her there too. And today to hear the essence of the Vishnu Sahasranamam brings back those emotions and memories. But my second vote of thanks is to her. And it is because of her that we have once again gathered in this hall, and she brings us together even in her absence physically. In the pantheon of great souls that we've had in our country, great scholars, and in times of turmoil that we witness in modern times, it is so heartening, gives us great confidence to see speakers of Dushyantji's caliber. I feel the baton has moved on to worthy hands, and gives me great pleasure and confidence that we are in safe hands and the culture will be taken forward to the generations to come. In the interest of time, I don't want to name every organization, every member who has put in his effort and time to make this program such a success. But a mention to all the devotees who have made the time and effort on a Sunday evening, not only who are physically present here, but also witnessing our program through the internet. To everyone. And in the words of Premaji, I can only say, she always repeated, please stay connected. And we look forward to your continued support. And we hope to remain as the trustees of Kshetropasana, always in the service of the Lord. Thank you all once again. Please partake of the prasadam before you leave the hall. Thank you. It is always our duty to pass on the Guru Dakshina to our Guru.